manifest. So get ready to rise, cause we about to be the best. Gotta switch it up, gotta break the old habits. Get your mind right, turn your dreams into habits. No negative vibes, only positive thoughts.
What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast. It's your boy, Devin, and today I'm excited to bring this special guest on. I know all of our guests are special, but this one, I had a real connection with. I was a guest on his podcast, and I told him, I was like, you know what? I really want to run it back and explore the mindset of everything that you've got going on. So I want to welcome Stoy Hall to the podcast today. He is an entrepreneur. He's a financial expert, and he is the founder of Black Mammoth, the No BS Wealth podcast. So honestly, I don't want to dive too much into it. I want him to kind of explain some of the things that he's accomplished. But without further ado, Stoy, thank you so much for taking the time.
Hey, I appreciate it. And yeah, we had a blast on mine. So I'm glad to be here and to provide more clarity, more depth. This is going to be fun.
So let's dive in a little bit. Where did your story begin in the entrepreneurial space? Were you raised by entrepreneurs? Were you the first in your family that was an entrepreneur?
Kind of both, a little bit of both. And I say that because when I want to say 10, maybe, my mother and her mother had like a cleaning business, if you will. And this is why I say kind of, right? Because as an entrepreneur, sometimes we just do things for other people. That's considered a business. They never really ran it properly like a business that we know of today. But that's kind of where I got the spirit of, hey, you can do your own thing, right? You can have a service, you can provide something for somebody, and that's how you make money. But really, it came into light when I was at Drake and got my degree in finance. While I played football there, I worked at the Boys and Girls Club off campus for 4.5 years. And when I was this is my title, get this is my title, Professional Teen Development Officer. Okay. I babysat teenagers is really what I did at the end of the day. But we went through a lot of like financial things and understanding how things operate. And from there, I knew, hey, my like purpose in life is to help educate others in the money game. And how do I go about doing that? It started out, selling insurance like a lot of us start. And then I like quickly understood like, no, I'm going to build my own practice the way I see it fit and best. And it's just been, ever since then that kind of jumped off.
No, that's awesome. I mean, I wish as a teen, I had someone that was coaching me on financials and so forth. I mean, I didn't come up from an entrepreneur background, as much either. I mean, I later found out some of my aunts and uncles and stuff like that were in the entrepreneur space. I had some celebrity family members, but it wasn't anything that was like really taught to you, right? And so you doing that and really making sure that you're teaching the youth about finances and about money management, all that kind of stuff is super interesting. From that experience, you start to learn and see like things click as a coach and as a mentor. But what was that next step from really teaching essentially the youth in launching a podcast and building Black Mammoth?
Yeah, more reach. Ultimately, I started to realize like going into schools or on campuses, or there's a couple nonprofits I'm involved with, you're really getting like a 1-to-5 ratio, 1-to-10 ratio. Maybe sometimes in a big auditorium, it's 1-to-40 to 100. But you're not really able to continuously give them that same content and those ideas, right? As a former athlete, you don't just learn one move once and then it's stuck there for the rest of your life. Like, right, we have to train and train and train. And I just looked out there and didn't really see any platform, any person that was really attacking podcasts or the way they run their business around like truly coaching and helping someone. Now we have business coaches and obviously trainers and stuff like that, but not in our space that truly had that background. And so I was like, God, there's got to be something here. So my staff at that point, we challenged ourselves. We're like, hey, let's do a podcast. We actually launched 2. We launched one called No BS Goon Squad, which is like our sports betting and sports talk because we're all D1 athletes. So, but we did those at the same time. And just the fun and joy of being able to have a platform that can bring all of this knowledge and content continuously was much needed, because in our industry, we do a really poor job of it. Like, look around, right? We're talking about money and mindset and stuff like that because we don't get taught that in school, and it's not like just in our blood.
No, definitely. And I do love like the names of your podcast, because like everyone's so sensitive on, how they name it. They want, especially in the financial space, be super elegant and super, make it sound this superior name, and you're just the, no BS. It's like straightforward, no fluff. And I remember even when we were talking to it, it's like, no fluff or run around the bushes. Like what is it?
Yeah.
What I do want to know, and what I'm really curious about too, is like you come from, what it sounds like a humble beginning, and how did your upbringing and stuff really shape your mindset around money and around success and around growth?
Both negative and positively. Right. I knew where I didn't want to go. My cousins and stuff like that went more of the gang route. I knew I didn't want to do that. I was an athlete, wanted to go pro. At some point, that dream popped in your face real fast. But I also knew that, like, looking at like my mom's love language was always buying me things, right? It was gifts, bats, cleats, whatever. It was just like a tangible item, as opposed to like experiences and being around as much. So I knew, like, growing up, all the things I didn't want to do or accomplish, but never really had the thing of like, this is exactly where I want to be. And that's where kind of the negative comes into play, because I've had to adjust and adapt. And I still fight that today of like, what does successful Stoy in his business look like? Cool. I know the numbers. I know like success from a numbers perspective, but like as a human, like, when will I feel like I've achieved something? And part of that comes back to the root of my childhood is I never put people on pedestals. I never had that like thing. It was just always like, you just grind, like you're just going to keep going, and eventually you'll get to wherever that's supposed to go. And so that's when I talk about my childhood. It's positive, negative. It's positive because I learned all the things I don't want to do, and that's helped me. But the negative part is I never had that person to look up to. And that's difficult to overcome when you're a child, now that you're an adult looking at it.
Are you, just curious, do you have a family, like, of your own now, or what's that looking like?
Yep, I do. Married my wife. She played D1 soccer. We have two boys. They're about to be 10 and 8, currently 10 and 7, and trying to show them as much as we can that we didn't have, but also providing those things that I know I wish I had as well.
So what sports are they playing, these future D1 athletes?
Yes. So soccer, obviously my wife got them into soccer first and foremost. My youngest plays basketball as well. We do a little bit of wrestling for training for football. But as we all know, like, football isn't something you have to play at an early age 24/7. My oldest is going into tackle this year for the first time. So that'll be, that's where I strap up and get involved. But I told my wife early on, all the sports leading up until they go to college are for training for football. So soccer's great to be stamina, foot speed. Wrestling, obviously, we all know that. And I just said it's in training so they can go play football at a higher level.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I do agree. Like, football, as great of a sport as it is, like, I never got into it myself. I was more of the rugby and the MMA, one out of my brothers. But like, my middle brother was all about tackle, and he got in at a young age, and he actually got disqualified in high school because of too many concussions. Like, he was a center, and it's like it sucks because that could have killed any dream of that he had. So putting them in at such a young age, like watching these kids that are 8, 7, 8, 9, going out there and tackling each other head first, it's like, oof, But I get it. So I think that's super smart that everything is leading up to it is for football and training them in different aspects of it. Now, from your upbringing, now having two kids, like, what are you trying to do differently? Because I mean, being an entrepreneur is difficult, right? It's time consuming. It's not just physically being in a location, but mentally, like, your mind is always going, it's always on. How are you trying to separate what you experienced from what you're giving to your sons?
I'm not trying to separate it as much as I'm trying to integrate it and teach them the right way. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's also where kind of we went wrong. Not me, obviously, but the rest of our generation, right? Our parents and the boomers and whatever, they tried to shield us from certain things. And we can see that in our society now of all the crap that's going on. But I don't believe in shielding. I believe in telling exactly how it is, right? Very transparent and saying, this is why, this is what I went through. Because at the end of the day, we're all humans, right? They're still humans. They might be children, but they're humans. And as humans, we always want to try it our own way. right? We always are going to try it our own way, regardless. If someone said, don't do that, right? Don't stick that paper clip in that outlet. At some point in your life, you did it anyway, right? But now you have that knowledge of, oh, that's why I don't. And now hopefully it locks in once that failure occurs. And so we try to teach them as much as we can of, success and failures, get them inside of the business, understand things. Like I've went through paying off a lot of debt, getting a lot of debt because I had to pay off my, my former business partner. I've lost, $100,000 in, investment deals, like talking through all of those things with them so that hopefully that their failures are smaller, but that whole lesson sticks a lot harder than it did for me.
No, that's awesome. And it always interests me, like that whole topic, because I mean, I have a 3-year-old and we have one on the way actually. And it's so interesting because, we experienced certain things, our parents experienced it, maybe a different way. And it's like not separating it, like I was saying, but how do we take what we've learned and still teach them what we learned, but maybe not having to have them go through those same experiences. So it is super interesting. Now you're in the financial space, right? From the podcast and, your coaching and all that kind of stuff. What would you define wealth as?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I answer it totally different than anyone usually does. Wealth is defined by your happiness, your joy, your memories and experiences while being able to provide for others throughout that time. Okay, that's what true wealth is. True wealth has nothing to do with the money or the dollars behind it. It has everything to do with you and how joyous of a life that you are living based upon what you want, not what society tells you.
No, I love that. And I agree and align with that so much. I was like looking through some of your stuff and I was like, that is awesome. So many people think wealth, money, wealth, rich. It's like, not everyone needs to have a wealthy life and, be a millionaire, right? It's what is the life? What is your dream life? What does your happiness really look like? But I will say that, financial literacy there is a huge gap in many people's lives, right? So why do you think that traditional financial education fails so many people? I mean, you went and taught teenagers and stuff about it. Why do you think that traditional schooling isn't really teaching that?
I mean, there's a lot of conspiracies of why, right? I mean, if you just look at how you control a population, you don't want them super educated because you can control them. That's the conspiracy side. My side of things is I just don't think that no one really wanted or knew how to teach it correctly, right? Nowadays, so like, I'm 14 years in the industry. We'll say a decade ago, you started to see more schools take on financial literacy inside the schools, and it's just been slowly getting better. Then you have, COVID hit, and now everyone has, oh crap, I'm going to take care of myself virtually. And now everything's on the internet. There's all this content. There's more podcast creators. There's all this stuff. And now it's less about like be able to get access to the information, less of like being able to like look up the definition of a Roth IRA. The point that we've all missed in this industry is the emotional and the mindset piece of it, right? Because we've been taught, and I'm sure you could attest to this, remove your emotions from financial decisions. Remove your emotions, make business decisions, remove your emotions. As humans, that's impossible to do because we're humans. We have emotions. Every decision we make has an emotional tie to it. What we should be doing is understanding our emotions and how that ties to a decision that needs to be made, that then full circle brings us joy and happiness into our lives, and not because of, we'll say, that quick little shot of adrenaline because I bought that new car or those shoes or you name it, right? And so fundamentally right now, we need to go back to that. We need to talk through people. And I love how you brought up the childhood stuff because we all have financial trauma in our lives, both positive and negatively, that start from us as childhood that sticks with us the entire time. And those that are lucky enough to have parents and a family that can teach wealth concepts, like how to actually build wealth, usually have a higher probability of being more successful in life down the road than those that are coming from a family that never went to college or has no education in that space. And so we need to go back and in the roots of who are you? What do you care about? And ultimately, what brings you joy? Then we can start making decisions based around that.
I love that. So, going off of that, what age do you think that we should start teaching our kids, about financial, literacy or financial management and so forth? Because I've heard different things on social media of, successful people, this is what I do for my kid and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, you being in the space and you teaching teens, what age do you, or maybe you're even doing it with your kids already, but how do you go about teaching your kids about it? And also, what age do you think we should start teaching our kids about it?
I would say probably around 3, when they can actually, speak, walk. You don't have diapers. You can, they can actually grasp a concept of like, if I have this and I give you this, I get this, right? Like buying something, probably around that age. Now, personally, what we do is we use Greenlight, the Greenlight app, which is a phenomenal app for all those out there. Go look it up. Banks now are actually paying for it for you, but it's a platform that has all the educational stuff in there for you, but it allows you to set up their allowances, their job. They can invest. They have courses. It's just a really nice platform, a tool that you can use that you don't have to come up with it on your own. So we use that for chores. And when we say chores, there are chores that are like legitimate, just chores, like, hey, brush your teeth, type of thing. And then there's ones that are jobs. The jobs they get paid for. And if they don't do the job, they don't get paid. And every Friday they get paid. A portion of that goes to their investing fund. A portion of that goes in their savings. And then a portion they can spend on whatever they want to spend it on. And then once a month as a family, we go through and have a financial meeting as a family, run through, where we want to go, what our goals are, what trips are coming down the pipe, where are our savings at, what do we need to work on, and then what was our spending like that month, right? And so we start them at that bare concept. And I think if most of us had that under control, everything else comes in line, right? People sometimes talk a lot of crap about my podcast because we don't go into the knee-deep weeds of how an IRA operates, or exactly how this fund is or what this investment does or is. We don't go knee-deep because none of that matters. If you don't have the money to save or invest, doesn't matter what you can or cannot invest in, because 0 times any number is still 0, right? But if we can get your mindset and your emotions and understanding of how to save, okay, then we can work from there. Then we can start to grow. And if you're not there, you're living paycheck to paycheck right now. I know a lot of you are. And you're always feeling like I'm drowning, like I'm never getting ahead. Well, it's because you don't have that under control. Your emotions are involved. Something's going on. Maybe you have past trauma. You need to sit down and just think through what's happening inside of your month-to-month budget.
No, I love that. And I do love the fact that, because this is something I heard, and I even sent it to my wife, and I was like, this is what we're going to do too. The whole, there's chores, and you don't get paid for chores, right? But you get paid for jobs, essentially, which is above and beyond, and each one could have a different dollar amount and so forth. So it's like, if you want to earn money, and my parents actually did this for me when I got a little older, before I got an actual job, and it was like, you want to mow the lawn, before your dad does it, it's, $5, whatever. And it's like, you start racking it up to, save for whatever it may be. And it does start to teach you that, you have to work above and beyond, just sitting by and coasting by to get things that you want. So I think that is such a huge thing. And it's funny because you mentioned 3, maybe you mentioned it because my daughter's 3, but it's funny because she actually does start noticing, like, she has these rain boots, and I was like, oh, those are so, so cool. Like, can I wear them? And she's like, no, they don't fit. And I was like, she's like, you have to go to the store and buy some. And I was like, okay, sorry. So they actually do start understanding, like, that you have to buy things. Like, they don't understand what that all means, but they get the concept of it. So I think that's so cool that you've already done that with your boys, and I'm definitely gonna be doing that with my daughter soon. Now, as a business owner, right, I've spoken to a lot of other business owners. I'm part of networks and so forth. But what do you think the biggest financial mistake that business owners or entrepreneurs make, and how could they avoid it?
Being disorganized. That's it. I mean, that is the one. Now, it's a very vague answer, obviously, but being disorganized is the top issue for most businesses in general. And that's the first thing that we attack for our business owners, is getting organized and understanding how the procedure to operate actually works. right? So as a business owner, typically we start a business, we probably have our own bank account, our own personal credit cards, and we're just buying stuff, selling stuff, or services, et cetera, back and forth. And then at the end of the day, you really don't know, or it's not easy to tell, hey, what is this, a business expense? Is this a tax deduction? Is this not a tax deduction? Do I pay myself? How do I pay myself, right? When you're organized and you have those things set aligned, plus you know exactly how to make a decision down the road, it makes business a lot easier, right? I call it a playbook, right? Football player, yeah, come at me. It's a playbook. I know what plays need to be ran when in what situation. You need to develop those exact same things as a business owner. That way there is no like, oh, this happened, I don't know what to do, and then you spiral. It's like literally, I know my taxes are due in April. So what do I have to do before that? Or I know I have an influx of clients this month. What do I need to do to prepare for that? And that organization allows you to operate smoothly. But if you don't have that operation down and it's disorganized, that's when you're going to have your biggest issues, and usually leads to most failing of a business is because it's disorganized.
No, it definitely doesn't make sense. I mean, I know a lot of solopreneurs or self-employed, entrepreneurs that essentially only have a personal account, right? And they intertwine everything. It's like, you got to get an LLC, or even if you want to be a sole proprietor, that's fine. But it's like, obviously there's different reasons why you shouldn't, but get a business account, get a business credit card, like separate your transactions. And so you know how much is coming in, how much is going out, and everything like that, because otherwise you're mixing and matching your personal funds, your business funds. You don't really know how much you're spending on the business. So I definitely agree with that, because that is a huge thing. And even business owners that do have a business card, I've seen them start to intertwine like expenses. I was like, that's not how that works. Like, you don't just have extra credit, to spend. Like, it's no, those keep the funds separated. If you don't have the money, it sucks to suck. Like, go make the money,
As business owners, we are employees of our business. Like, treat
Yeah.
yourself like one, right? The business can be profitable, have its own savings, its own thing, its own entity thing, but whatever it pays you, that's all you can use personally. You start intermixing, then you, I mean, it's a slippery slope. And typically we all start that way. So if you're going to start a business, or you have one right now, and maybe getting a business account is too far above, or business credit, although it's relatively easy to do all those things right now, today, at least open up another personal account and just treat it as a business account. It might be the easiest thing to do right now, but you need to have those separate. Otherwise you're going to run into big issues. And I promise you, the IRS loves when you're disorganized. Okay. They really do.
I don't doubt it. And then you're sitting there trying to backtrack and figure it out and make it make sense. And now you're confused too. And that's, yeah, don't go down that road. I do want to explore, because going into we're going to retie back what we just talked about into this next part, but someone that's just starting off on their financial freedom journey, right? What would be the 3 steps, and whether they're an entrepreneur or, just a W-2 employee, what would be 3 base level steps that they could start today?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, because when you get emotional, it takes a lot of toll. So the first step that everyone does, that everyone should do, especially since it's beginning of the year, is go back through all of your credit card statements, bank statements, anything that you spend money and it goes in and out of for all of 2024. Okay. Go through and highlight all of the expenses that brought you joy and happiness and make you feel good. And then go ahead and highlight the ones that you're like, why did I do this? That was pointless. That doesn't bring me any joy. Okay. Sum those up at the end of the day, right? Sum up the joy ones, sum up the not joy ones. Okay. And ask yourself, truly, are you spending your money in the right categories? Am I spending more money on things I don't care for, or more things that actually bring me joy? Okay. And then the second step to that is, can you delete all the ones that don't bring you joy? And if you did, what would that do to your income? Okay, start there. What's going to happen during this process, this is why we get into step 2 right after it, is you're going to start to understand like, oh, like I don't really care for my Netflix subscription, or I go out to eat a lot, but I love to cook. Like, what is going on? You're going to start to learn who you are as a person. and what you want to spend your money on truly, and not things just because your friend group goes and does this, or your parents do this, or society told you to do this. You're going to start to figure out what you truly care about and who you are. And that'd be the step 2. And then the step 3, once you have all of those things in order or thought about or looked at, now it's time to organize them and change the way you make decisions. Right. So if we need to set up different accounts, or you need a credit card or whatever, set up the organizational piece. But then when you start that step 3, change your mindset in terms of when a decision needs to be made, and ask yourself, is it in line with the things that bring me joy, or is it not? Am I doing this purely because Devin told me, hey, let's go out? Is that aligned with what you want to do? And that'll help you start to change those decision makings. But those will be the 3 steps that I tell everyone all the time.
No, that is awesome. Now, if people, because some people think you have to invest in stocks, some people, say the stock market is not where, you need to invest your money, buy real estate. Obviously, there's a different plan for every single person, right? The reason I wanted to tie it back to what we were talking about before is like they're having your separation of accounts, right? And being smart about the mistake, right, can also help you in other ways. For example, like if you have an LLC, you can actually open up a stock portfolio for your LLC under a special brokerage, right? So like we have one for our gym and all that kind of stuff. So it's our savings account essentially is part of it is in the stock portfolio, right? And so there's different ways you can go about it, but you have to know how much you're spending and what brings you joy, just like you said, in both of those, things. So I think that is like so crucial, right? And what would your take be on, I get it's going to be a generic question, and it's an opinion, right? For you, right? So if you guys are listening to this is not, financial advice in terms of you have to make this decision. But in your opinion, how has the stock market benefited you, or, not benefited you, or do you not go into it at all?
Yeah. It's funny. So I treat the stock market as, long-term stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Majority of my long-term stuff, kind of set it, forget it, come back to it. Now there's a lot that goes into which one you're picking and all that stuff, which that's weed stuff. But I treat that as when we talk about buckets with our clients, we have our short term, which is going to be your like checking and your savings and 3 months of your expenses that you can get to any day, any time of the day. You've got your midterm that are probably in high yield savings accounts or brokerage accounts that aren't into long stocks, etc. That covers the next 6 months. And then long term is everything else, right? Your retirement stuff, all those things into the long-term stock market, because I don't know if anyone's noticed this, but the stock market only does one thing over the course of time, and that is it just keeps going up, right? Now, yes, we have down periods, but ultimately it just keeps going up. So if you look at it from a long-term perspective, which you should, you're always going to make money in those situations. But you have to understand that we're talking about long-term, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not talking to my day traders or my swing traders or people that want to get involved with that. I'm talking about just your normal day portfolio. You should be looking towards the long-term. And so that's what we utilize it for, because it's something I don't have to worry about every day. Then I back that down into, okay, what are my other investments? Well, one, my physical and mental health are my first investment, because if I don't have those, I can't invest in anything else. And I got my business, then, my kids, and then other businesses. All of those are built into your portfolio. And guess what? Those are going to have a lot of ups and downs and zero returns or negative returns for a while. Whereas your stock portfolio over time keeps going up. So you have something always working for you, while these other opportunities maybe take a little time to get going.
No, that's on point. Now, with everything that we're talking about right now, right? You've worked with, people trying, teens and people trying to figure out about finances, and then you've worked with some high net worth individuals, right? So what are some of the common habits or mindset shifts that the high net worth individuals have or do that, the lower net worth individuals could be, starting to apply?
They take risks. Okay, that's it. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the only difference between high net worth and not high net worth. Rich, poor, socioeconomic divide, whatever you want to call it. It literally comes down to taking that leap, whatever it's a step, a leap, a jump. That risk is the difference. And the difference is that our lower economic people, the lower income and net worth, think of certain things as debt, whereas our higher net worth looks at it as leverage. Same thing, right? I'm still getting a loan for something, or I'm still hiring somebody for something. But when you shift that mindset of it's leverage for them to make me more money, that's a lot different than I'm taking on debt. That's a very negative connotation. So fundamentally, from a mental standpoint, just those two terms change people, but willingness to take that risk. And if you fail, you'll figure it out type of situation. That's what the wealthy, the ultra wealthy, they continuously do. And they continuously feed that way, and they keep going and going and going and going. Now, I'm not saying they're taking undue risk where they're just going to jump off, the Grand Canyon without a parachute. They are taking calculated risks with outs and stops, and understanding that if it doesn't go this way, this is how I get out. Might take a loss, but at least I'm out, right? Whereas the lower side, they don't see it that way. They say, "Oh no, I could be poor. I could get out of my house. I'm going to lose my car. I'm going to lose my job." Like all of the negative connotation to it, and so fundamentally, that is the difference.
So, I mean, with that being the difference too, do you think that there's a fear of money, or almost like a limiting belief around, finances and wealth building that, leads to that not having that mindset shift?
Yeah, the scarcity mindset, right? That's purely scarcity mindset. And it's the toughest one to overcome. Let's be real. But we've been taught for so often that in life, we are supposed to go to school, go to get a degree, go work, get married, have kids. Like it's supposed to be like this fundamental thing. And it causes us to have a scarcity mindset because it causes us to focus on a job that's going to guarantee us money. Well, I'm here to tell you that there's no such thing as guaranteed money. A W-2 is not guaranteed. Same thing as being a business owner. It's not guaranteed. It's very much the same thing. You can walk in tomorrow and get fired as your W-2. I could lose a client in 10 seconds. Like, you know what I mean? They're the same type of risk. We just connotate a W-2 as like a guaranteed paycheck, and it's not. And we keep getting wrapped into that over and over again. So then we get golden handcuffs. Then you start to not take risks because you don't want to lose this guaranteed money. And it just spirals from there. So it really starts from that perspective.
No, I think that I love that link between the two, because it is so true. People think that getting a career is safer, or trying to get a career is safer than starting a business. And it's like, it might be, but also opening a business might be safer. It's like, you never know. They are both a risk, and you just have to make that calculated risk for yourself. With the future in mind, what's your long-term vision for Black Mammoth, and what is the impact that you plan to make with it?
Yeah, it's twofold. One, obviously, I'm building this thing because one day I want my boys to take it over. That'd be, phenomenal, right? So that's like more of the one side of it. But the other side of it is changing our industry and developing what a modern family office is. The emotional side of things, tying that out, and then having families have a team that is there for them in every walk of life is how we should operate. The ultra wealthy, a majority of all of them, have a family office of some kind. Why can't the rest of us? Well, we can. We have to just change our thinking. And so I want to use the platforms that we have and to build Black Mammoth for being that voice of what a modern family office is and changing how our industry does things, because I'm so sick of us only talking about investments and only charging people if they have investments. It's not how it should work, and never should have worked that way. And so that's what the second part of what I want to do with Black Mammoth for the future.
No, I love that. I mean, I think that's going to impact so many lives, like now and in the future, and I, look forward to watching that journey grow. I do want to ask one question before we wrap things up, and that is, the Stoy legacy wall, right? This legacy wall is not a tombstone, right? I will say that, because some people start to give a tombstone answer. I'm like, no. Like, what is the message that you've learned along your life's journey that you would like to leave for not only your boys, but also for the future up and coming generations?
This one's fun. You win some, you lose some, keep going forward. That's it.
All right, explain it a little bit.
Yeah. So in life, there's going to be a lot of moments that aren't great. A lot of losses. There's going to be a lot of wins too, right? But as long as you keep taking that next step forward, you're going to win more often than you lose. And that ultimately is going to get you to your goal. If you subsequently don't take that next step forward and you let those losses pile up and you lose your confidence, you go into depression, that's when things really start to turn for the worst. And that is a really hard hole to dig out of. So regardless of what the situation is, just one small step forward will get you going, right? That might be getting up and walking on the treadmill. It might be reading a book. I don't know about your situation. It just is something. So just take that next step forward.
I love that. Where can people connect with you and learn more about what you have going on personally, as well as with Black Mammoth?
Yeah, go to blackmammoth.com, nobswealth.com. Literally every social media platform hit me up. For some reason, I'm locked out of Twitter, so don't hit me up there because I got to figure that out. But seriously, I'm on Facebook, all the Pinterest. I'm everywhere, man. It's really fun. So all I ask of anyone is just reach out, right? Whether that's DM me, email me, I don't care. But the only way we can provide better content, the only way that I can physically help you or my resources can, is if we know what's going on. And so the more you reach out, the more you communicate, the easier it is for us to help you. And ultimately, at the end of the day, everyone I talk to, all the podcasts I'm on, our one sole purpose is to help you. So just reach out.
No, I love that. Guys, make sure you guys share this episode with a friend. Not only do you, should you be trying to improve your financial situation, your mindset around money, but also bring your circle up, right? And that's what we're all about, is bringing our circle up as well. Maybe about separating business accounts, maybe about investing or saving, and you're already in that financial freedom. And that doesn't mean the rest of your family, your friends are. So make sure you share it with them. And again, so I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day to hop on and drop some knowledge.
I appreciate it. Anytime, brother. Anytime.
No negative vibes, only positive thoughts. Cause in the game of life, mindset calls the shots. Got my mind on the prize, I can't be distracted. I stay on my grind, no time to be slacking. I hustle harder, I go against the current. Cause I know my mind is riches to be